The Bug Parc. Do you like bugs? Do you like butterflies? Do you say yay when other people say yuck and eek? Well, let me tell you about your new favourite place, the Bug Parc, the UK's only invertebrate zoo. Plenty of places might have a butterfly house and many zoos have an invertebrate room, but the Bug Parc is the only zoo in the UK dedicated to invertebrates. Hi, I'm Dr. Elinor Tuffnell, an environmental scientist. Today I'm going to tell you all about my favourite zoo and all the reasons you should visit if you possibly can. This isn't sponsored, I'm far too small a creator for that sort of thing. I just wanted to share my joy at this hidden gem and encourage you to visit. I'll tell you about all the fun things you can do there and all about a few of the creatures you can see, or if you're very lucky, hold. Don't worry, arachnophobes, I have you covered. Tarantulas and true spiders are in their last section and will be signposted if you'd prefer to skip them. So much to see and do. The Bug Parc is still growing. When I visited in late June 2026, they estimated that it was about half finished. But don't let that fool you. My family and I spent a good 6 hours there and could have spent longer. There are lots to enjoy. I don't have children, but most of the other visitors did. If you have kids in your life that like inverts, this is the place to bring them. I was really impressed that the information provided was both informative and simple enough to be accessible for most ages. There are lots of little activities like trails for the littlies to follow. Aside from the invertebrate-themed activities, there is also a jumping pillow, children's play area, undercover sandpit, traditional fairground games, and pedal go-karts. But don't worry, it's not all geared towards kids. If you're an adult who likes invertebrates, you will be in heaven. The park currently has 4 tropical houses and 15 different bug zones. The invertebrate enthusiast pedants among you will be pleased to hear that this includes both true bugs, insects within the order Hemiptera, and a variety of other invertebrates. Obviously, I don't have time to tell you about every species I encountered, and I want you to have an incentive to visit, so I shall only give you a few highlights from each house. But trust me, there is so much more I could have included. The Bug Parc has a number of talks each day on different species, so double check either in advance or on arrival what times those talks are. We were lucky enough to get a talk from the extremely knowledgeable owner of the Bug Parc on the Leafcutter ant colony. There is also the option to pay a little extra and take part in the animal handling event. If you're not squeamish about creatures with too many or not enough legs, I heartily recommend it. Don't worry, they only let you hold animals that are no danger to you. There are a few lovely outdoor activities too. Investigate the beetle loggery, or try your hand at pond dipping in their purpose-built pond dipping pool. Just ask at the gift shop and they'll happily lend you a net and ID card so you can see what creatures lurk in the pond. Just be sure to treat them gently and put them back when you're done. So after browsing the gift shop and grabbing a delicious lunch from their delightfully named Chrysalis Cafe, I headed into the first tropical house, the Butterfly House. Flutterby, the Butterfly House. When I first visited the Bug Parc, they hadn't yet opened their Butterfly House, and I have been so excited to finally see it. It was very worth the wait. They breed dozens of species of tropical butterfly, and different ones will be flying under different conditions. The Butterfly House has done a wonderful job of creating a mini jungle right in the middle of Norfolk. Large numbers of nectar-rich flowers grow all around, along with various butterfly feeding stations where fermenting bananas attract various species of butterflies to sip. There are several ponds, including one filled with beautiful koi. You could just sit there and watch them for ages if you wanted, as they swim around and occasionally peg for food. I have to walk slowly and carefully to avoid accidentally stepping on a butterfly, but it's very worth it. The sign says not to touch the butterflies, but butterflies can't read, so during my time there, several of them landed on me. I couldn't choose a favourite, but the undeniable star of the show that day was the common blue Morpho, which was so big and brightly coloured it almost didn't seem real. I say common blue Morpho, but this is a term applied to a species group that may or may not be multiple species and subspecies. Taxonomy is complicated. These incredible butterflies are native to Central and South America, and the species appears in a surprisingly wide variety of forest habitats, from dry deciduous forests in Costa Rica to wet tropical forests or even the Andean cloud forest. As you can see in these videos, their wings are massive compared to their body size. When I first saw them fly, they seemed almost like someone had CGI'd them into the world, as the way they moved with a slow, bouncing flight that showed off the blue underside of their wings in flashes, alternating with the dark undersides. It seemed unreal. Apparently this is a defense mechanism, as it makes it difficult for birds to follow their flight path. If they are attacked, they are capable of wild, swooping maneuvers to evade. Another showstopper was the Iulia butterfly. Another native of the Americas, this one is found as far north as Texas and Florida. and appears across tropical and subtropical regions of both South America and the Caribbean. The males and females are quite easy to distinguish, with the males being brighter orange, while the females have a more muted orange, but more black markings. In this little video, a female is resting on a leaf and a male has approached her. After a certain amount of attention, he is intercepted by a rival male and the two fly off fighting. The last butterfly I want to discuss is the chocolate pansy. Yes, that's what it's called, honest. They're native to Australia, Indonesia, and Southeast Asia, and get their name from the chocolate colour and the pansy-like pattern. Look at that camouflage, though. If I told you that wasn't a living butterfly, but one carved from wood, it could sound believable, right? But no, they're real, living butterflies, and I got to see them at the Bug Parc. Cut to the chase at the Comstock House. Now, onto the Comstock House, which is home to a mature leafcutter ant colony. It was impossible to do this justice in photos or videos. You simply have to see it in person. The colony is housed in several tanks, where they tend to their fungus gardens. Yes, these ants are farmers. The leaves they're so famous for cutting, those are carried home and fed to the fungus farms. Worker ants carefully chew the leaves into pulp, mix that pulp with saliva and ant poop, and turn it into a nutrient-rich compost to grow their fungus gardens on. The ants add enzymes and bacteria to the plant material, which help control the fermentation process. The ants carefully tend the gardens, ensuring proper temperature, circulation, and humidity. They even provide biosecurity services. The ants carry around bacteria that produce a natural antibiotic, which is used to protect the fungus from pathogens. Without the ants tending it, the fungus would die. The colony at the Comstock House can be seen through glass, and if you shine a torch on it, you can see the fungus gardens and the workers inside. These colony base camps are connected to the ants' food supply by ropes and tubes. The workers will make their way along these to the feeding station, where the younger, strongest ants cut leaves, which the older ants then carry back to the colony. Why this division of labour? Well, the journey is the most dangerous part of all of this. So younger ants with sharper mandibles do the cutting, and older ants, who are already nearing the end of their life, assume the greatest risk by ferrying the leaves back. On the way back, they're particularly vulnerable to predation by parasitic wasps, so tiny ants ride along on the leaves. They start preparing the leaves for the fungus garden, but they also act as tail gunners, protecting the workers from those wasps and preventing them landing and laying eggs. The colony is also protected by soldier ants, and fun fact, those only start to appear as the colony matures. How did the Bug Parc learn they had soldier ants? Well, the soldier ants orchestrated a jailbreak, biting through those thick lengths of fishing line holding up the ropes, and allowing the workers to forage both outside and in other creatures' exhibits. The staff came in one morning to see a line of busy ants returning the spoils to the colony, which is why those cables holding up the ropes are now in batches of 4 or 5 and may need replacing daily. Apparently, the fungus refuses to eat the same food for too long, presumably to avoid locking itself into over-reliance on any particular plant. Precisely how it communicates this to the ants isn't well understood, but they do seem sensitive to its requests for different food plants and will simply stop cutting leaves from undesired plants. Aside from the leafcutter ants, Comstock House is also home to a delightful array of other creatures, including centipedes, millipedes, and isopods in the rainforest floor zone. There is an entire zone dedicated to stick insects, a beetle zone full of, you guessed it, some of the most beautiful beetles known to humankind. Oh, and some praying mantises. Most of them are in Hinton House, but I found this one here, and as you can see, it has just molted, and it's eating its discarded exoskeleton to recycle the nutrients. I spent so much time here watching these creatures go about their business. See the nightlife in Kirby House. Kirby House is the most natural history museum of the different houses, as it includes a wonderful selection of pinned invertebrates, including the Introduction to Invertebrate Zone, where you can learn all about the invertebrates' characteristics, adaptations, and their roles in the ecosystem, and the Butterfly Museum, where you can see the incredible collection of pinned butterflies. This section also includes the chrysalis hatching station, so you can watch butterflies emerge fresh from their chrysalis and take their first few tentative wing flutters into the world. The trippiest place here is the nightlife zone, where you can learn all about the nocturnal lives of invertebrates. The room is dark, and it can be hard to spot critters, but many of them have bioluminescence, so one press of a button to turn on UV light above them, and you can spot where they're hiding. I loved this section, and enjoyed challenging myself to find the invertebrates before putting the light on. I often couldn't do it, they are very well camouflaged. Here you can find scorpions and Vinegaroons. I particularly love Vinegaroons. Their main defense mechanism is to spray acetic acid from glands on their abdomen. This is how they get their name, as they're essentially spraying vinegar to scare off predators. Don't worry, despite their appearance, they're harmless to humans. Some people even keep them as pets, and since they can live up to 9 years, you get to be with your pet for a long time. They are, however, largely nocturnal, which is why they're in the nightlife zone at the Bug Parc. The They're native to southern US and Mexico and live in deserts, dry grasslands, shrublands, and pine forests. Please forgive the lack of photos and videos in this section. The darkened rooms are fantastic for seeing the animal's nocturnal behaviour, but did make photography challenging. Get legless or admire the 8 legs in Hinton House. Probably the larger of the houses, Hinton House has the most zones. I'll tell you about the non-arachnids first and give you a heads up before we switch to creatures with 8 legs. The first zone I explored was filled with crickets, grasshoppers, and the oft-neglected member of the Orthoptera order, the Katydids. All of these creatures have long hind legs that allow them to jump. They also produce a characteristic chirping noise by rubbing their body parts together, which is known as stridulation. Next are the praying mantises. I was so excited to see that they have a collection of fancy mantises, including my favourite, the orchid mantis. Some were easier to see than others. The variation in colours and shapes was incredible. Next up are some creatures that many people will be creeped out by. These include several species of cockroaches, assassin bugs, giant water bugs, and leeches. Personally, I find cockroaches kinda cute, and I have a fascination with leeches, given their use in medicine throughout history. But I understand these creatures might not be for everyone. If they're for you, though, you could spend a long time getting to know them here. Now for the shell zone. 2 very different groups will vie for your attention here. I didn't really expect to meet crabs here, and yet there are several species, including the banana crabs, violet hermit or red-legged hermit crabs, and my favourite of the trip, red devil vampire crabs. Look at those eyes. I can see why they would be given such an ominous name, but they were so cute and very active when I visited. Also present are a delightful number of snails of various species. I have a particular love for giant land snails, having kept one as a kid. Side note, if cared for properly, they can live a long life, up to 10 years, with 5 to 7 being the average. Mine lived to about 9 years. They're surprisingly easy to care for, though they can be invasive in some areas, so check your local laws if you're considering one. The Shell and Coral Museum is a must-see. They have incredible pieces, and I could have spent hours examining all of them. It's all laid out so you can easily compare species to see the differences in pattern, colours, and shapes, and how they evolved over time. So here is your warning if you can't handle spiders. The rest of this section will be all about the 8-legged creatures. If you'd prefer to skip it, please jump to the timestamp here. Now that the arachnophobes have escaped, let me tell you all about the awesome spiders and tarantulas I got to see. Quick note on taxonomy, tarantulas are not considered true spiders. They are arachnids, but there are certain key taxonomical and physiological differences that separate them from true spiders. Taxonomically, tarantulas are in a different suborder to true spiders. Physiologically, tarantulas tend to have larger bodies and thicker legs than most true spiders. Their fangs are also orientated differently, with tarantula fangs pointed downwards, and true spiders have fangs that face each other. My favourite tarantula is the OBT. Officially, this is called the orange baboon tarantula, but anyone who's ever interacted with one knows that OBT really stands for orange bitey thing. As the name suggests, these tarantulas are bright, honestly almost neon orange. They're also known for their speed, being very proactive in their self-defense, and possessing medically significant venom. So these are best suited to advanced keepers and kept as display-only pets rather than handling. Though I would advise against handling tarantulas anyway where possible because they are very delicate and a fall could kill them. Of the many true spiders, the eye is drawn to the massive glass tank, which contains the gorgeous red-legged golden orb weaver spider, and their massive webs. If you wanted to see these creatures in the wild, you would probably need to go to one of the islands in the Indian Ocean, such as Madagascar or Mauritius. Or you could see them here. They're called golden orb weaver spiders because in the wild their web is a beautiful yellow-gold colour, though as this requires their wild diet, you don't tend to see it in captivity. The colour is believed to attract bees and act as camouflage, blending in better with sun-dappled leaves. They have long legs, which are mostly dark black, but have tips or bands of vibrant fiery red. Males are tiny, while females are giant, up to 10 centimetres. If you're wondering how they mate, the answer is very carefully. Males hide at the corner of the web and creep up on the female's abdomen, lest they get eaten. Conclusion. My goodness, that was a lot of invertebrates. I could only cover a tiny handful of them in this video, but I hope you enjoyed it. I highly recommend the Bug Parc. It's an incredible day out for anyone who likes invertebrates, adults and kids alike. I had a wonderful time and I'm sure you will too. I've left links in the description as always. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe and share the link with anyone you think might find it interesting. So until next time, thank you for watching.